Welcome back everyone. In our continuation video, Subject History, Standard 7th. Chapter number 7, The Administration of the Swaraj. Video 2nd. Now let's start to our first point of this video, village economy of that period. Agriculture was the backbone of the rural economy. In villages, many occupations developed to supplement agriculture. Artisans in the village produced goods and fulfilled the needs of the local people. In this sense, a village was a self-sufficient unit. Farmers gave a definite share from their produce to artisans. This share was called baluta. Okay, now artisan means what? Here the word is artisan. Artisan is what? A person who makes things skillfully, especially with his or her hands. Okay, we can say karagir. Yes, correct. India is known as an agricultural country, as most of the population of villages depends on agriculture, that we all have known. Agriculture forms the backbone of the country's economy. The agricultural sector contributes most to the overall economic development of the country. For centuries together, the Indian village has been a self-sufficient and self-contained economy. During the past 40 years, rural reconstruction and development have been the major thrust of economic planning, which has caused a rapid transformation in the Indian rural economic structure. Now let's understand about baluta. Okay, balutedar. The balutedars used get paid for the services provided with village produce under a complex barter system. Means in these systems, artisans in the village produced goods and fulfilled their needs of the local people. In this sense, a village was a self-sufficient unit. Farmers gave a definite share from their produce to artisans. Artisans means karagir. And this share was called as a baluta. Got it? Now, next point is trade and business. Maharaj knew that a kingdom does not prosper without an increase in trade. Merchants bring novel goods as also certain necessities into a kingdom. Goods become available in plenty. Trade prospers, adding to wealth. The view that Maharaj took of merchants is seen in the Ajna Patra, where merchants are described as follows. Merchants are the ornaments of the kingdom and the glory of the king. Now Ajna Patra. Okay, so Ajna Patra is a royal edict on the principles of Maratha policy. Got it everyone? It is supposed to be the formal documentation of Shivaji's ideals, principles and policies of state administration. It was the policy of Maharaj to protect industries. An excellent example of this is the salt industry. He protected the salt industry in Konkan. At that time, traders imported salt from the Portuguese territory and sold in Swaraj. That affected the local trade in Konkan areas. So Maharaj charged heavy duty on the salt imported into Swaraj from the Portuguese territory. the intention was that the salt imported from the Portuguese territory would then cost more, and as a result its import would decrease and the sale of the local salt would increase. As we all have known that Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj was very keen on protecting the local industries. He protected the salt industry in Konkan area. Correct. At that time, traders imported salt from Portuguese territory and they used to sell in Swarajya. That affected the local trade in Konkan areas. Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj charged heavy duty on salt imported into the Swarajya from the Portuguese territory. And it was the intention was that the salt imported from the Portuguese territory would then cost more, and as a result its import would be discouraged and the sale of the local salt would increase. So that is why Shivaji Maharaj charged heavy duty on import. Next point is the military organization. There were two main divisions of the army of Shivaji Maharaj: infantry and cavalry. In the infantry, there were officers such as the Havaldar, Jumledar, etc. The chief of the infantry was called Sarnobat. He was the highest officer in the infantry. In the cavalry, there were two types of cavalrymen, namely Shiledars and Bargirs. The Shiledar had his own horse and weapons. The Bargir was provided with a horse and weapons by the state. In the cavalry, Bargirs were more in number. The ranks of the cavalry officers were similar to those of the infantry officers. The highest officer in the cavalry was the Sarnobat. Netoji Palkar, Prataprao Guzar, Hambirrao Mohite were some of the famous Sarnobats of the cavalry. Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj, he was the founder of Maratha Empire. He raised a small yet effective land army. For better administration, Shivaji Maharaj abolished the land grants or jagir for military officers and instituted a system of salary or cash payment for their services. During the 17th century, the Maratha army was small in terms of numbers when compared to the Mughals, numbering some 1 lakh. Shivaji Maharaj gave more emphasis to infantry as against cavalry, considering the rugged mountainous territory he operated in. Further, Shivaji Maharaj did not have access to the North Indian Mughal-dominated horse markets. During this era, the armies of Marathas were known for their agility due to the light equipment of both infantry and cavalry. Okay, now let's look infantry ranks, starting with senior most. First, Sarnobat, he was the chief of army. Sat Hazari, then next Zamdar, then next Havaldar, then Naik and Paik. Now, the structure and ranks of armies of the great Maratha at a high level during the reign of Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj. cavalry was divided into two at a high level. Shiledar. Correct. A Shiledar brought his own horse and equipment. Although organized different, even Shiledar converged into the Sarnobat, means chief of army. And now next is Bargir, means one of the lowest rank cavalryman of the Marathas who was provided with horse and equipment from the state's stock. नेतोजी पालकर, प्रतापराव गुजर, हंबीरराव मोहिते. These people were famous Sarnobat of cavalry. Next point is intelligence department. It was necessary to protect the Swaraj from its enemies. For this, it was necessary to get precise and timely information about the movements of the enemy. It was the job of the intelligence department to obtain information about the movements of the enemies and submit it to Maharaj. The intelligence service of Maharaj was very efficient. Efficient means very skillfully. Bahirji Naik was the head of the intelligence department. He was extremely skilled in his job. He collected accurate and detailed information about Surat before the raid on Surat. Okay, now let's learn more about Bahirji Naik. Who was Bahirji Naik? He was an Indian spy and military commander in the army of Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj during a time when the Maratha Empire and Mughal Empire were at war. He is assumed to be a Maratha by his clan name Zadav. But there is a tradition which claims him to be of the Ramoshi community, whose members were known for their resilience and as strong fighters. Bahirji Naik, Shivaji Maharaj's chief of intelligence, was reasonably successful in his methods. Not much is or was known about the early life of Bahirji, except that his expeditions and adventures as a spy in Shivaji's army greatly contributed to the success of the Maratha Empire. Bahirji Naik was skilled at gathering detailed information about every aspect of his missions, and a lion's share of credit for many of Shivaji's surprising feats must go to Bahirji Naik and his people. I hope students you must have liked this. Further part we will see in next video. Thank you.